to grab a copy, you can actually get a copy by going to reconnectwithfood.ca/food-diary. And I've added the link up above on Facebook and down below in the pinned comments on Instagram. So check it out. It's like $19 and it will totally get you started on every single thing that I'm going to be chatting with you guys about today. So to get into tonight's conversation, I just want to start off by kind of getting a gauge on where you guys might be at on this journey. So tell me honestly, how aware are you currently right now of your fullness and hunger cues? And if you could, hit me up in the comments on a scale of 1 to 10 of how aware you currently feel that you are. Like, are you present and are you noticing when you're hungry? Are you noticing when you're full? Or are you not too sure at all and you're just kind of eating based off of what you've been told to do or a set of rules? Let me know in the comments where you're at. Hi, Paula. Oh, I'm so happy you're here, sweetheart. Hello. Hope you're having an amazing day. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining. And for those of you on Instagram, you can answer in the comments as well. I want to know where you guys are currently at. So, like I kind of briefly touched on, the ability to use our own internal cues of knowing when we're hungry and knowing when we're full, these are natural. These are something we were all born with, right? And this is something that helps us to regulate how present we are with food. We were all born with this nature. So Paula says, I always seem hungry. Yes, totally. Been there completely. I've been on both sides of the spectrum, actually. I've been where, I always am just satisfied and I'm like, I don't want any food, or I'm always like ravenous and like always wanting to eat something and put something in my mouth. So you're always hungry. You notice the hunger for sure. Okay, fantastic. So what really happens here is when we do become disconnected from our hunger and fullness cues, it can feel like we're always hungry, or it can feel like we don't even want food ever, right? And where the challenge comes into play is that when you do start to become an intuitive eater, these hunger cues are already here, but the thing is we have gotten so accustomed to listening to the external cues, the things outside of ourselves, right? The meal plans that tell us when to eat and how much, what we're being recommended by, what we're reading online, what the food bloggers are doing. So all these external cues, we start to listen to that we start to sort of drown out the internal cues of our body actually telling us what it is that we want, because we're so busy listening to everything else. And this could go the other side of the spectrum too. Like for Paula, I'm always hungry. Commercials like, oh, boom, 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 food in your face, time to eat, or like we're so programmed to like eating at certain times. We totally disconnect from like what our body actually wants, right? And dieting is a huge perpetrator of this because it's taught us to fully focus on eating in this external way, right? So also choosing only good or healthy foods, and finishing everything on your plate. Like I know growing up as a child, I was taught like, you have to finish all your food on your plate. So that like taught me to like completely shut down when I was actually full, because I had to eat every single thing that was there. And if you live in North America, portions are really big, so you might be overeating without even noticing when you're actually full because the food's in front of you, right? So there's lots of external things that can totally pull us out of balance with food, right? But using only these external factors to determine what and how much to eat and when, this is a really dangerous path and slippery slope to get into, because that's what is actually disconnecting us from our bodies and our intuition, which is why I always say, like, rip up the rule books. This is my planner, so I don't want to throw it. Rip up the rule books and completely go off your own guidance system. And that's what that's what I do to teach women how to trust food again, is by guiding them towards that without a set of rules. So again, this is why it's so important to like not go down that path of those external factors, right? So hit me up in the comments, actually, you guys, with like an emoji. Hit me up in the comments with an emoji if you're actually ready and, you're wanting to become an intuitive eater, and you want to learn how to connect with your hunger and fullness cues, and you want to eat intuitively and freely and not think about this stuff, because really, like, we got more important things to think about, right? So hit me up in the comments if you're ready. Hit me up also in the comments if you're a little bit scared. Like, show me with your emoji your expression here. So Paula's a hell yeah with a hand, but some of you might be a little bit scared, and you could be a little bit of both too, right? So if you are a little bit scared of what this looks like, I understand, because it can be scary sometimes to release control, right? And we'll get into that. And this is actually the first thing that actually helps you to connect with your hunger and fullness cues. And it's learning how to trust yourself again. This is number one, learning how to trust yourself again. And there's a big reason why we actually fear listening to our bodies and our own intuitive nature. And the reason for that is that because we believe that if we are to completely trust in our internal cues and our own guidance system to tell us, what food choices are best for us and our body, that we are going to make unhealthy choices or the wrong choices or eat too much or have no sense of control, self-control, right? And we think we'll just go overboard and just end up binging on everything or eating everything that's unhealthy. That's what we think, because we've been taught that we can't trust food and that certain foods are good and bad, and it's put into these two categories. And the thing about that is, oftentimes, if you're not trusting your relationship with food, how you do one thing is typically how you do everything. So if you're not trusting in yourself with food, chances are you're not trusting in yourself at all. There's a lot of lack of self-trust there, I find. And I mean, this is so natural when you're always relying on these external factors, right? And having these external factors make choices for us. But have a look and see, like, is this not only happening with your relationship with food, or is it happening with multiple things? Are you always looking for outside sources to validate your choices and what you do? Right? So it's just something to consider and something to think about. And I invite you to explore that, okay? Because it's unbelievable what you can understand by just, like, to me, food is like, when food gets loud, that's when I know, oh my gosh, there's something deeper going on, something deeper underneath my emotions that needs processing, it needs having a look at. So food is like, it's great because it actually gives you that awareness, like how great that you have that indicator that something might be going on that's deeper. Right? And again, like regaining this trust, it's a complete process. It's going to take time, and it's going to take a lot of practice, but it is worth it. I mean, if this is something that you actually want, and this is something you actually want to free yourself from, then go there, girlfriend. Go there, right? Because by using these internal cues and getting back into connected with the way you behaved as a toddler or an infant, when you weren't taught dieting rules and you weren't taught, like, how to do everything by the book, you just trusted in your own intuition, and that's when you were the most powerful. So I want to teach you guys how to actually get back to that place. So just to jump to the comments really quick, Paula says, that's what I'm doing now. Nothing healthy has been in my mouth in months. Okay, so can you explain that a little bit more, Paula? Like, are you saying you are just not trusting in yourself at all and you're just eating all these unhealthy things? But the thing to take notice of here, Paula, is that it's normal to crave foods and eat unhealthy foods if you've been living in a state of restriction. So what I have to ask you there is, have you put a label on anything, something you should or shouldn't have? Maybe it's sugar, maybe it's gluten, maybe it's meat, maybe it's dairy. Have you set up a restriction for yourself to say, this is bad, I can't eat this, and you've kind of put it out there, and then all of a sudden you want it more than ever, or you want other foods more than ever? Is that happening? Because if it is, gluten. Okay. So what I've come to understand about restriction is that when we put a label on any food at all, I don't think that taking that approach is the first step. I do believe in cultivating good health. However, if you have not yet worked with your relationship with food first, so the psychological aspect of the relationship with food, no matter how many foods you cut out or how many foods you tell yourself that you should or shouldn't have, you're going to want it, because that's how restriction works. When you cut something out, you want it more. So for example, say you go on a low carbohydrate diet. This was a big one for me. No carbs, no carbs. Carbs are the demon. Don't eat carbs, right? That's the exact thing that I wanted more than ever. And this is the exact thing I craved more than ever. And if I wasn't eating that, then I was going overboard on something else, like fruit, which was, I was eating so much freaking fruit. And it was just an overhaul of one thing or the other, right? So when you stop this, because this is a diet mentality, when you are restricting and cutting out certain foods, this is a diet mentality, right? And it's quite common for you then to overindulge in those foods, or foods that also, like, just on the other extreme, like the fruit thing, right? And this is honestly because your body is craving them so intensely, because you put it out there as like, no, this is bad, you can't have it. And this is the same with any food. It doesn't matter what it is, right? So the more and the longer that you add this restriction, the more intense these cravings will be, the more that you're going to start eating other foods that are not in alignment for your body, versus just saying, I want to eat based on how I feel. So I'm going to eat foods that make me feel good, and taking inventory of those things and asking yourself a series of questions and investigating the foods that you're eating and finding out what foods make you feel good, what foods make you feel bad, what your triggers are, what type of people influence certain things around you. Like, these are all things that the food diary that I created really helps you to get clear on. So again, if you are wanting to take this first step and you are wanting to explore this further, this is a really good place to get started, because it helps you to get clear on the relationship with food and the mental side and the emotional side of like what's actually going on behind the food, rather than just saying, nope, this food's bad, and writing it off and putting it into that restricted category, and then end up gravitating towards all these other foods because you've restricted instead. And then guess what? When you eat that food, you feel bad, and it just repeats this endless cycle, right? So just something to take note of for sure when it comes to food. And this is why I highly encourage working with a coach or a guide or someone that can really help you navigate this journey, because it is a lot more psychology than it is actual like nutrition, because it really helps you to kind of get clear on what's going on when these foods can get really loud, right? So take your time with it, but definitely the first step is asking certain questions to get to the bottom of what's going on and kind of investigating the situation while not cutting out or tailoring your foods. It's basically eating everything that you're eating now, but getting to the bottom of it, okay? So on that note, can you guys actually remember a time in your life? Think about this, okay? Can you actually remember a time in your life where you allowed yourself to eat foods that you currently labeled as bad or forbidden? Like, you just ate them. Like, Paula, I'm just going to use you as an example. Can you remember a time when you ate gluten, right? How was that experience for you? Like, way before you knew that, like, gluten was bad and was not good for your system, like, how was that experience for you? Did you crave the gluten or the carbs or whatever you were eating as badly as when you restricted from them? What was your experience like? Or did you just eat whatever you felt like eating in the moment? I would love to know what your experience was like with that. So the second thing that how intuitive eating helps to reconnect you with your fullness and hunger cues is intuitive eating helps you to listen to your body. Okay, it helps you to listen to your body. So by eating intuitively, you actually learn how to listen to your hunger and fullness cues and what your body's actually craving, and your body will naturally find a weight that feels comfortable. Okay, and that's what happened to me. I now, and we'll talk about this a little bit more, but it's called weight set point. So weight set point, basically, hold on, I want to, before I go into that, Paula shared, I always ate a lot of bread before I found out I have an intolerance. Okay, so you were eating a lot of bread. That's what you were brought up with. But mentally, like, where was your head at with that, Paula? Like, did you, like, second guess it? Did you just eat it? Like, what was your experience, like, emotionally with it? Okay, so as far as weight set point goes, the best way to describe weight set point is, say, for example, you have a thermostat, and your thermostat is set to 22 degrees Celsius. And so your thermostat's set at 22 degrees Celsius, and say the temperature drops. Okay, say it goes below that temperature, right? As soon as the temperature drops below that temperature, the vent is going to start blowing warm air into the room. Yes, right? That's how thermostat works, right? And if the temperature goes above this 22 degrees, then it's going to blow cool air into the room, right? So it's setting these different temperatures based on if it's going up or it's going down, okay? So metabolism and your hunger works in the same way as this example of a thermostat, okay? So your hunger and fullness cues and your metabolism play a huge role in regulating your body weight, okay? Just the same as like heating and cooling of a room, same way. It works in the exact same way. So when your weight actually drops below your weight set point, which is a point that like you're naturally at without having to manipulate and control your body. It's just your natural weight, and like maybe you'll go up and down a couple of pounds, but for the most part, it's just where you are naturally without having to try or think about it, okay? So when your weight drops actually below that weight set point, your hunger is going to increase and your metabolism will actually lower, right? To basically conserve energy. And when your weight goes above your weight set point, your hunger is actually going to decrease and your metabolism is going to increase to burn energy more easily. Okay, are you guys following me? Does this analogy make sense with the thermostat? So it's going to do what it needs to do to keep you at that weight set point, right? But what happens is when we get caught so much up in the world of dieting or restricting, we're constantly trying to like go smaller, we totally lose sight of the hunger, fullness, and the metabolism, and it all just kind of gets broken and torn up, and it all just starts to fall apart, okay? Because we're going against the grain of our bodies, okay? So this is why it's so incredibly important to work with intuitive eating to help you to get back in balance with your hunger and fullness cues, because it's a natural process. It's going to do it anyway because your body was built to function in this way. And this is why, you could literally just be focusing on, what feels good for you in your body. Like I've been the same weight now. I don't even know because I don't weigh myself, but I know because my clothes still fit. My jeans are still fitting. My shorts are still fitting, pulling out summer clothes, it still fits. So I know that I've kind of stuck at that same weight set point. So that's why it's so important for us to go back to using our hunger cues rather than calories or macros or micros or grams or whatever, right? To track everything, because we're born with these natural hunger and fullness cues that already teach us and align with that. Okay, so is this making sense to you guys so far? Hit me up in the comments with a yes if you're following what I'm saying. Hopefully I'm describing it so it makes sense. I know it's all new, so it can be a little bit confusing at first, but hopefully you're following me. So the third thing, okay, you're following me. Okay, cool. Good, I'm glad. So the third thing that how intuitive eating can actually help you to stay in alignment with your hunger and fullness cues is mindfulness. It helps you to get in touch with mindfulness. And mindfulness is amazing to help you to get into your body. Okay, and I'm going to teach you some mindfulness tricks that I use that really helped me when I was learning how to trust food again. So in order to get in touch with your hunger and fullness cues and figure out what the body is craving, I find that it's really important to be mindful here. Okay, and the best way to do this, and this is my favorite trick, because a lot of times mindfulness can seem so foreign because we're very disconnected in this realm. The best way to kind of get back into the body and get mindful and present of what you're doing and get very conscious is actually to use your senses. So we were gifted with 5 senses, and it's tapping into those senses to get back into the body. So, we're using our touch, we're using our taste, we're using our scent, we're using our eyesight. What did it? Touch, taste, eyesight, smell. What one am I missing? Touch, taste, sight, smell, and hearing. So using your senses and getting back into your body by paying attention, like, okay, like how does this diary feel? Okay, it feels rough. What am I hearing outside? I hear the wind blowing. What am I seeing? I'm seeing the trees blowing in the wind and the sun's about to set. So like now I feel like I'm in my body because I'm here. I'm in the now, right? So in our modern day lives, we're always rushing around, doing the next thing, like eating on the run, like go, 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 right? And when we eat in this manner, we don't pay attention to our hunger and fullness cues because we're on autopilot, right? So we forget how to taste our food and taste the textures or feel the textures and see the food in front of us and smell the food, because oftentimes we're so busy that we're just eating and it's gone and it's down and then we're on to the next thing, right? So by staying fully aware with these aspects of food, this is really going to enhance your experience of eating, and you'll just feel more enjoyment and you'll feel more satisfied, and you'll get what you need from food. So then you're not going to be looking for the next meal right away, because you're going to be getting that fulfillment, right? So that's what I found with mindfulness and food, is that you really just start to cultivate this experience of presence, and that really helps you to enjoy your food that much more, so it feels that much more fulfilling, okay? So that's definitely a way to get mindful and to get back in the body and to start paying attention to your hunger and fullness cues, is by getting present and slowing down, and by using your five senses to lean in and really experience that food that's before you. And gosh, it's a blessing that we even have accessible food. And this is something I always try to really think about, because being in a first world, we don't even realize how blessed we are to have accessible food literally in a grocery store where we're pushing a cart and we just pile in whatever it is we want. There's some people that don't even know where their next meal is coming from at all. So gratitude is huge as well. But as far as like digging into the experience you're having with food and like getting mindful, I wanted to give you guys some questions that you can actually use to really help to gauge where you're at with food. And Paula, since you've been kind of sharing, like you're unsure if it was actually a craving, if it was out of habit, if it's related to family, like situational, it sounds like there's a lot of questions there, right? And of course there would be. You've never done this work before, so how would you know, right? It's a lot to think about, and there's so many situational things. And again, this is why I highly recommend my food diary, because you'll start to see themes and patterns and trends the more that you use it. And I only recommend really using the food diary for like a week or two. If you use it for a week or two, you'll really start to get clear on what it is that's going on. But some of the questions, like if you just want to get started, is like paying attention to, okay, what is my hunger and fullness level? And in the food diary, I actually give a scale of 1 to 10 that helps you gauge this, but just gauge on a scale of 1 to 10, like what is your hunger and fullness level? Okay. Am I enjoying this food? Are you even enjoying it? Because sometimes, again, we go on autopilot and we just eat, and then we're like, I don't even like this food, right? I did that a lot. I'm like eating like broccoli and like chicken, and I'm like, this is like rubber. I don't even like this. Why am I eating it? Oh, because I was told this is what I had to eat in order to train and be lean and be fit. That's why I was eating it, but I hated it. How about this one? What would my eating experience, what would make my eating experience be more pleasurable in this moment? What would make my eating experience be more pleasurable in this moment? How can you make it more pleasurable? Can you add better plates that you're eating on? Can you sprinkle some cute fruit on top? Can you play some music in the background? Can you shut your computer so you're not working while you're eating? Can you shut off the TV so you're not listening to news telling you all the bad things in the world, right? What can you do to make your experience more pleasurable? Okay. Would I rather be eating something else? That's a good question to ask yourself too. Am I staying present while eating, or is my mind wandering around? Again, another way to get back into the body. What external things are influencing my food choices today? Going back to that external factors. Are there external things like you should not be eating this, right? You should not be eating that. The shoulds. Distorted thinking. So pay attention to that also. And how can I reconnect to my internal signals that my body's giving me? Right? How can I go internally versus externally? So these are some really good questions to get you guys started. Hopefully this is helpful. Is this helpful for you guys? These questions and this topic, is this helping you guys kind of get a little bit more clear on how we can reconnect to those hunger and fullness cues again? Paula, I do that no matter what meal I prepare. It tastes terrible. It feels awful in my mouth. I remember you saying this. Yeah. My enjoyment level is probably about a 2. Super interesting. Yeah, exactly. So there's clearly something going on there. And again, this is why food diary is so great, because it will help you to get more clear. You'll get more awareness by asking yourself these questions. If we don't ask ourselves these questions, we're never going to get to the bottom of what it is that's going on, right? Things are just going to continue. And this is why, again, you guys, the psychology of food is so incredibly important. You can cut out all the things. At the end of the day, you're not changing your relationship with food. You're just restricting yourself from something. And then when that doesn't work, you're going to restrict yourself again, and then you go back to the cycle of eating those foods. Like, it's continuous. And this is why we stay stuck with food for years and years. And this is why the weight loss industry is a $66 billion industry. I thought it was 33. Yeah, it's actually 66. It keeps going up. So we gotta do the work. I know it's not fun. It's not sexy, right? It's not sexy to show up and do this work, but it will free you up of so much more space if you just do it. Because if we feel like crap, we don't have space to do the amazing things that we love. So it's super important that we do this work. And trust me, you guys, it's not always about the food. It actually goes so much deeper than that. So if you guys are wanting to take this journey further and you're ready to get back into the rhythm of intuitive eating and at least figure out what's going on, you just want to take a first step here. You want to explore this a little bit. My food diary is $19, you guys. $19. It's the cost of like a takeout meal, 2 takeout meals, depending where you're from. And it's amazing because it really helps you to get clear on what's going on behind the food. And it's not a typical food diary that talks about tracking, what you're eating and how much. I don't want you to tailor your food in any way. I want you to eat exactly how you're eating and more focus on the experience that you're having with the food and why you're behaving in that way. So it really helps you to get to the bottom of what's going on behind the disconnected eating. So you'll be able to, record your experience that you're having surrounding the food, learn awareness, learn consciousness, and really eat what you want to eat, not what you think you should be eating. So it gives you kind of permission there. And it also helps you to discover what foods nourish and fuel your body so that you can feel best. Because at the end of the day, you know best. No one knows you better than you. No one knows what you're experiencing better than you. So you're the best person for this job. So don't leave it up to people to give you all the answers. You got to do this on your own. This is your own work to do. And once you understand your relationship with food and can get clear on these behaviors, then if you want to, do food sensitivity testing and start to crowd out some of the foods that are triggering you and giving you stomach aches and making you feel like crap, great. But the first place you have to start is not actually with the food itself. It's with the experience behind that food. Okay? So I hope this was super helpful for you guys tonight. If you have any questions at all, please let me know. Feel free to shoot me a message. I'd love to support you. If you want to get your hands on the food diary, like I said, grab it up above or in the comments below on Instagram, or if you're watching the replay on Instagram, you can check it out in the bio and see how it works for you. And I'd love to support you with it. So let me know if you have any questions at all. I'm here to guide you. I really want to help you guys work through this. I don't want you to feel stuck with food anymore, and I don't want you to continue using a Band-Aid solution that is dieting. I want you to get to the root of what's going on so that way you can start to enjoy your life, feel free around food, eat what you want, and just feel good in your body, because that's how you should feel. That's how we should all feel. So thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. And if there's anyone that you think would benefit from this message, please be sure to share it out. That's how I can get my message across. So any little share that you do, any little comment, any little like, I so incredibly appreciate it as a small business owner, because you guys are what keeps me going. So thank you so much, and I will chat with you guys next week. next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time for another episode of Terms Alive, and we're going to continue this conversation on intuitive eating. All right, hope to see you guys there. Have an amazing night. Bye for now.